Hello, welcome to Ghoul Gang Rising. I'm your host, Kevin Castley. We got my co-host here, Topple Me Elmo. We're waiting on Henry. He should be here soon, hopefully. But in the meantime, we got a lot of cringe to dunk on. And I like that Elmo's here because we had a reference to Elmo in a Russia Today propaganda piece. So with that, how's it going, Elmo?
It's going good in Elmo's world.
No, that's good. That's good. Elmo's a big supporter of regime change out there for all the kids that are watching right now. He's also a fan of nuclear weapons, and he's not really a fan of Kim Jong Un or his dad or his grandfather. So we got Topple Me Elmo, and actually with that we got Henry joining us. So there we go.
Hey.
We got the trio.
What's up, boys?
Oh man, we're
Not a
just
whole
getting
lot, man.
started.
But yeah, apparently we're not going to have Henry for too long. We don't blame him. We stream demonically late. But with that, actually, I'm sure most people watching this know who you are. But just real quick, for people who may be new, did you want to give a little plug for your channel and some of the hilarious things you've been covering over there?
Oh, sure. My YouTube channel's American Madhouse, and I guess I don't even know how to describe it. I do variety content, I guess you could say, call it. I don't know what I've done recently. I've been looking at some like disgusting woke critical race theory bullshit, and mainly that's what I've been doing. I did a video on the TYT Jimmy Dore stuff. It was probably the last one I did.
Mm-hmm.
But before that, I'd done, streams on riots and things. I had a wide variety of things.
And debates.
Oh yeah, I do debates as well. I moderate debates on there too.
I'll have to check. I'll have to check some of those out, man.
Yeah. Yeah,
But anyway.
we had debate over there about a month ago that people might want to check out. It's got almost 1,000 views now.
Yeah, something tells me they did, man. Something based on those almost 1,000 views. Something tells me they checked it out.
The drama stream.
Yeah,
I forgot about that.
The drama stream, man.
Yeah, that one.
I think they've seen it.
That one has got a lot of clicks.
Oh man, speaking of Jimmy Dore. So I'll hopefully be back filming with my face on camera and everything soon. Did get a ring light, but I'm just waiting on a couple of fans to actually make my studio basically livable, basically in a suit and everything. And there we go. So I'm going to be sitting down with Stephen Michael Davis Wednesday morning. So hopefully we'll have everything together by then. So you'll be back to actually, filming content as opposed to just using an avatar. But there we are. And he lit a powder keg, and he's spaced, and he's been taking W's left and right. And oh man, Jimmy Dore, before we get into the actual show and everything, Jimmy Dore's the type of guy that even if you try to be on his good side, like Kremlin Kyle has been doing, but you in any way acknowledge that Jimmy was in any way in the wrong, you're done. and he was getting dunked on by Young Turks today. So that's what happens. So.
No, I shared that clip and provided to us, of course, by Stephen Michael Davis. Who else was it going to be? Of Jank basically dragging Kyle for being a cuck today. You hate to see it, man. Or in our case, we love to see it. But there you go.
Yeah, I've been hearing from Jimmy Dore's fans all day and comments on my video, even though my video was equally attacking both. I fucking hate all these people, and I think it's amazing they're fighting, and I love to see it. And I felt like I made that pretty clear. But Jimmy Dore's fans were the ones showing, and I kind of forgot about that because I used to make videos on Jimmy Dore on my other channel, and it was something I had forgot about, that they if you do a video with his name in the title, they'll find the video and just start commenting and writing you essays. And I'd forgotten about that, how horrible his fan base was.
Oh yeah, they're almost as obnoxious as Nick Fuentes that way. I mean, him, Aaron Mate, Nick Fuentes. If you write their names in any title, there are going to be 50 dislikes on the video.
Yeah, I don't remember how many dislikes I got. I know I got a bunch of comments, not a bunch, a bunch for me, and they were like long, and I was just like, Jesus Christ.
They wrote you essays.
They were like lecturing me about this. And like one of them was telling me, and I made some offhanded comment about how I said something like, I don't know anything about Glenn Greenwald really, but I have the impression that he's a hack. And like I got a whole fucking essay about that, about how he's like the greatest journalist of our time. And
kill me now.
I don't even know.
Greatest journalist of our time.
I barely mentioned him. I said something like, I don't really know much about him. I think I know that he smeared some people, and I get the impression he's a hack. That's literally all I said. And guy told me all of his fucking journalistic achievements and shit. So
yeah, he's a super serious journalist, man. He got a Pulitzer Prize, man. So therefore he's infallible, man.
Well, he cited something from 10 years ago, as if anyone gives a fuck now. Yeah, what's Glenn been up to for the last 10 years? Well, a whole lot of nothing.
Well, no, there was Russia. He likes Russia.
Oh yeah, and appearances on Tucker Carlson. That's right.
Yeah, and he likes Russia too, so it makes sense.
Finally, bipartisanship.
Yeah, that's right, bipartisanship. Yeah.
I think we're going to get into the show. We have a lot of cringe to get to. But at any point you need to duck out, Henry, we get it. It's ungodly late. But I thought this would be a great thing to start on. This inevitably was going to get covered. Title of this video is Biden delivers remarks on U.S. troops drawdown efforts in Afghanistan.
I was hoping you'd do this.
Oh, no. Anytime he talks about foreign policy, we make an effort to cover it. Because
particularly the Afghan drawdown, because I don't pay attention to everything in foreign policy, but obviously I've noticed this.
Yeah,
this is the big change.
The only thing with this is that it's over an hour long. So
luckily I got a timestamp for you. We're gonna start at 36:34. The beginning, like he's not even in the room, so it's just them filming nothing.
Oh shit! People are like teleporting around.
This is television of the future.
Here we go.
Let's see. It might be a second. Yeah, see, this is what they filmed.
So they filmed this for 36 minutes. Okay. Let's hope that
the video was funny because it was a black screen at the very beginning, and then when the video finally turned on, it was a close up on a fat guy's face. Maybe we'll go back and find that.
Wait, what did you say the timestamp was? Because we're at 36:38 right now.
It should be around there.
Okay.
He should be walking into frame right about now. Unless I can't read the numbers right.
Or unless StreamYard's having an issue, but no, it's working. They zoomed out. Okay.
No, here we go. Someone's coming. There. Perfect. I'm not crazy.
Good afternoon.
Wait, who's that?
That's Uncle Joe.
No clue. Who is that guy?
Senior military.
Grandpa Joe.
And national security leaders on the status of the drawdown of U.S. forces and allied forces in Afghanistan. When I announced our drawdown in April, I said we would be out by September. And we're on.
Well, he said September 11th, so I mean, he just says, "Oh, September." It's like he specifically said September 11th. Terrible optic.
And he's gonna say something like, "Good news, we're getting out before September."
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, isn't the date like August 1st now?
I believe so, but
well, they're 90% out.
Yeah.
Which basically
it's already
means you're out.
Yeah, it's like 250 people.
Yeah,
So,
and they're supposedly going to leave like a couple hundred to guard an embassy there, I guess.
Yeah, I heard about that too. Yeah, good luck to those guys.
Yeah.
You know,
God. Oh God.
That's going to be like the inverse of the UN's Cyprus vacation spot. This is not going to be a vacation spot. This is going to be prepare for, Iranian hostage crisis part 2, basically.
200 versus 80,000 potentially if the Taliban wanted to concentrate everything there. So
never tell me the odds.
Well, the U.S. that wouldn't even have a serious air force available. Like everything's going away. So,
hey man, Uncle Joe told me everything's going to be okay.
I guess that
I mean,
means
would the president lie to you? Tell me that.
Well,
I mean, we elected him.
I'm told that Bush lied and people died by a bunch of cringy handcasts.
That's the only time a president's ever lied. Hashtag true facts.
Yeah.
Track to meet that target. Excuse me. Our military mission in Afghanistan will conclude on August 31st.
Oh,
The
31st.
drawdown is
Okay.
proceeding in a
Phew! I'm gonna wipe my brow. Got an extra 30 days, man.
There you go. There you go. So now the Taliban won't take back Afghanistan because it's an extra 30 days.
Yeah, I didn't mean to spread misinformation.
Look at this guy. Look at him and his propaganda.
orderly way, prioritizing the safety of our troops as they depart. Our military commanders advised me that once I made the decision to end the war, we needed.
What about the safety of the troops who have to stay?
What about this bullshit? He's saying I made the decision to end the war. Trump made that decision. He extended it, I guess. So yeah. I guess, I guess he made it, but it's like Trump wanted to pull out like what in May or something.
Yeah, it was May.
He extended a couple months. He's going to end the war. Whatever.
So when we commented on it initially, I really want to hear what you think about this, Henry. We commented on it originally. Isn't it weird that as soon as Joe Biden became president, his whole thing was reversing all of Trump's damage? He had like dozens of executive orders. He was trying to roll back on everything. But this, when he gave his main justification for why he was going through with this, he said, well, the last administration got this rolling. It's like, wait a minute, you don't agree with the last administration on anything. What the fuck is this? How is that your argument?
I mean, that's kind of part of the thing is that he maybe the only reason he extended it is because Trump set a certain date. So he's like, oh, we got to change that. We can't do Trump's date. Like,
so stupid.
It's the same shit with it's the same shit Trump did when he came in and he's reversing policies that for whatever fucking reason, it's political bullshit, but.
Yeah, no, it was often suspected that was the main reason he got even out of the Iran deal. Was like, well, the last guy did it, and I don't like him, so fuck it. I want to be different. And it's such a turbulent way to govern the most powerful nation on earth.
Yeah, it's basically a contrarian teenager. It's a contrarian teenager's way of governing a country.
That's what I've said before several times is when you're talking about doing these complex nation building type projects is it might be a factor, something we have to take into consideration from now on, that American politics can shift radically within 4 to 8 years. It used to be, more 8 years. Now it seems that it's 4 years. Before that, it didn't seem, if you go back in the day, you could have administrations change, but they still had basically the same goals. Like you're talking about like back in, post, World War II, post World War II, you could change parties, change administrations. There would still be some consistency. Now it's just complete like reversals going in. It's kind of a clusterfuck.
No, it's a complete mess.
It's a valid criticism of our current democratic process, perhaps, or just the current state of politics. So that's why I would take issue with people who say just be dismissive of social issues, just be dismissive of cultural divides, focus on geopolitics. Again, just like when it comes to geopolitics, a lot of these, economic, humanitarian, and security concerns go hand in hand. I do think that the cultural divides in geopolitics and national security concerns go hand in hand as well. Of course, you have to have a stable nation in some form in order to do a lot of these projects. But even this, I mean, to call what we've been doing in Afghanistan for the last while nation building is we were doing glorified security, and even that was too much. That's what's amazing.
For the last 5 years, I wouldn't even call it that. We've had barely a presence there for the last 5 years, so I don't.
Yet it's amazing how much can change when you take out that tiny bulwark. That really is the impact. Like we were getting by with the bare minimum for so long. And even that was too much for some people. Some people didn't have the political will for that, and it affected their life not one bit.
I honestly don't understand it. Like, as I had said before, I would be perfectly fine. I think it would be great. And maybe, who the fuck am I to make this decision? But if we had a permanent major military base in Afghanistan, and say, like, what was the last troop numbers we had? 2,500. That's not a big number. That's a small military base, honestly. Say we established that there, had an airfield permanently. Why would that be a big deal? I don't understand. I don't get it.
Because it's a war, man.
It's been too long.
Oh.
It's been too long.
How many people even died in like the past 2 years? How many Americans died in Afghanistan?
There was a 12-month period between April 2020 and April of this year where it was 0. So
yeah. So I'm guessing over the last 2 years, it was like less than 10 overall, something like that.
I don't actually have the number here.
At
I don't
least
either. I'm just guessing, but it's tiny. It's like calling it a war is insane. It's insane.
If you say that, people are going to be like, "Are you downplaying?" Just one. I think that we're surrounded by such a culture of such defeatism. There's one American casualty, and people just give up.
Well, yeah, that's
just
the
like,
thing.
Fuck it.
No, but those people that are giving up right now, a lot of them are like these right-wing, populist, paleocon type people who say that the whole argument about the measures to reduce casualties from the no-no issue that we can't talk about, when people like Fauci and Biden would say, look, if all this reduces the death toll by 1, it's worth it. And they'd be like, well, people die from car accidents and everything. It's like, okay, but the Afghanistan war, especially in the last 5 years, has resulted in way fewer casualties than a typical day in the U.S. In car accidents. So there's that too. So, and you're actively warding off terrorism over there. Like, what do people think is going to happen once the Taliban regains control of Afghanistan? Do they think that that's it? The Taliban's going to be satisfied? They're not going to work with any terrorists or anything outside of that, like they used to? I mean,
of course not.
They're just sovereignty, bro.
Give it a chance. Just let Uncle Joe explain to you what's about to happen here. Yeah, give him a chance. Jesus.
I guess.
I know. We'll try.
He's going to tell you it's going to be okay.
Elements of the drawdown. And in this context, speed is safety. And thanks to the way in which we have managed our withdrawal, no one
Speed is safety.
Yeah,
I hate to pause it like 2 seconds after
you go 2 seconds.
Welcome to Ghoul Gang Rising, man.
Talk fast. Talk big speed.
The man, he's an 80-year-old man, Kevin. Give him some slack.
No, he's agreeing with Haas. Haas would say talk fast, retreat fast. That's what Haas would say. That's such an alarming statement, though. Like you say, well, speed is safety. He might as well be telling you, yeah, we're running away as fast as possible because of what is on our tail at the moment. The upcoming onslaught, the slaughter that will be following in our footsteps.
That's astounding. So basically right there, he's admitting that he knows how dangerous this situation is, how the instability that is caused. How could he not know? The instability that's caused by us leaving.
And it's actually a big complaint is not just us leaving. It's from my understanding, what the Afghan people, not the Taliban, not the shitheads over there, the Afghan people, their big complaint is not just that we're leaving, it's the manner in which we're doing it. And one of their big complaints is how fast and rapidly they're doing it. Like getting out of there and them not having time to like adjust and make compensations in their military presence and forces. It's actually the speed that it's happening is one of the problems they have with it.
Which is amazing when you consider that under Trump we would have pulled out even sooner. Like, it makes me. They had all this extra time, and what have they been doing with it? Nothing.
Well, I know I've brought this up before. This is the argument that some of the people that we used to hang around made the point about Trump was that, look, it took him 4 years to get around to actually leaving, and even then he set the date for after he was out of office. What if he stayed in and never got around to it? That's the argument that they were making, as opposed to Biden, who rushes in and retreats immediately, basically.
I don't think he would have done that if the negotiations hadn't happened, though.
Yeah.
I have serious doubts that he would have just pulled something that drastic.
Sorry, I cut you off. I was going to say that negotiation bullshit is another thing. It's insane to me. They're saying they're negotiating with the Taliban. They have this ceasefire, peace agreement. They've been taking territory. They're assaulting people. They're murdering people. I just watched a video on fucking Twitter that was viewed by, I don't know, God knows how many people, where they just like slaughtered a bunch of Afghan government troops.
Yeah.
But, like, what the fuck? What peace deal? Like, what are they even talking about?
Well, no, they said they wouldn't do it. They said they'd be good. They said that they'd be good as long as.
How is that not a violation? That's a violation. Deals off. We're staying. Like, right? You would think null and void. Correct.
But then the progressives would call Joe Biden a corporatist if he did that.
They're gonna call him a corporatist anyway.
Progressives are cancer. Fuck them.
Yes.
Joe Biden is. I don't know what Joe is. I don't know what you're doing, Joe. We need 90. Where's 94 Joe?
Yeah, exactly.
94 Joe back there.
No, 90s Joe was based. I said, like, this is the guy who said basically bomb Iran back in the day. And now he's the guy who makes Trump look hawkish. So, I mean, come on. I mean,
you would think that the deal would be null and void in the face of things like that, but consider deals like this to be more of a formality than anything else. And it's just saying, look, we want to be done. We are totally willing to throw our longtime allies under the bus. We don't care anymore. And you're going to see, because he's going to give this little speech here about Afghanistan. And then, believe it or not, the press is actually the heroes in this story. The press, they're going to ask him a series of questions he doesn't have any good answers to. Because this is so bad that even all of them are not impressed. And they're usually the first ones to come to the defense of this administration. And let's do a story on their dogs, or let's do a story on whatever.
He's eating ice cream, double scoops.
Let's do a story on the ice cream.
Oh, man. Yeah, no, speaking of dogs, I know it's a brief aside, but there's a revelation about one of the losers from that drama stream that we were mentioning earlier. It's been brought to light that he wants to kill dogs. He wants the government to euthanize all pit bulls. And so that's why I made that meme. They don't know I want to kill dogs, where he's alone at a party. So
hashtag save the pit bulls.
Yeah, no, imagine living.
Pit bulls are pests.
Oh, dude. Oh, dude.
Pit bulls are awful.
Imagine living in Southern Oregon and wanting to kill dogs. So
that would be on. Anyway, let's continue with this.
Forces or any forces have been lost. Conducting our drawdown differently would have certainly come with an increased risk of safety to our personnel. To me,
wait, but the empirics don't actually bear that out, though. Even with 2,500 troops, there were no casualties sustained over 12 months. So if you did the opposite and had more troops there, if you're simply acting in a security context, you could very well go another year without having any casualties. I mean, the only time when casualties is going to be more or less certain is if you're going and taking back territory from the Taliban. Joe Biden's obviously not going to do that, but at a minimum, don't let Kabul fall and, whatever.
It's objectively not true because they're keeping that small contingent to guard certain assets, to guard the embassy. Those troops are now in perpetual danger, especially if the entirety of the country falls to the Taliban. So this whole thing of, we got to keep our troops safe. We have to keep our troops safe. And that's the line we're going to use for why our withdrawal was so sloppy and so speedy, why we failed to coordinate with our allies, why we failed to really think this through. And if you question it, well, what do you want our troops to be in danger? I mean, that's what people are going to say anyway when they are calling for a withdrawal, and you say, well, here's the reasons we should stay. And they say, well, that puts the troops in danger. Well, yeah, but you could say that about anything. You could say that about sending the police to some crime-ridden neighborhood.
Yeah.
And say, I think we should do a few more patrols down here. And people will be, well, do you want to put our boys in blue in danger? Well, no, but that's their job. I don't know what to tell you, man. That's what they signed up to do. Somebody has to do that. Oh, I guess we could just send nobody down there. Okay, fair enough.
Wait,
just
you want to send the garbage truck driver to go and collect a bunch of garbage, but it stinks.
But good point. Maybe no one should do that. Maybe we shouldn't even have a country. Now that I think about it.
Well, yeah, because if you think about it, like people that make food, they have to deal with stuff that stinks too. Yeah, they have to deal with garbage and stuff. And if you really think about it, I mean, people that work in offices, you can get like carpal tunnel syndrome and everything. You got people that work in firefighting, fighting forest fires, all that kind of stuff. They could get injured or even potentially die. Why not just not have them do their job either? Then everybody will be safe.
Good thinking. Glad we're on the same page.
Those risks.
But still pay them though. That's also the argument. That's also the argument too.
And give their kids free college and give them Medicare for all.
That's the argument. That's the argument. It's like, still pay everybody, but do nothing. That's the thing. So because exactly, I mean, there are parts of the United States, legitimately, not even close. There are parts of Chicago that are far more dangerous than Afghanistan if you're a police officer. And you never see the argument about, well, why not just not police it? You've got these cops that are being put in harm's way by doing that. So I don't know.
I think you see plenty of that. But not out of concern for the police officer, usually. More so viewing them as the oppressor or the colonizer.
That's true. I forgot about that. That's true. So, and oftentimes a lot of the people that want the U.S. to leave Afghanistan, they're not doing it out of a concern for U.S. troops. They'll say straight up they hate the U.S. military. They call them imperialists. So there's that crowd too.
So imperials.
And there was never any doubt that our military would perform this task efficiently and with the highest level of professionalism. That's what.
Yeah, but the problem is Biden and Trump didn't give the U.S. military enough resources to do more than just secure what was already held. So, but what do you make of that, Henry? What are your, if you got any other thoughts, feel free, because you're the special guest. So.
Well, I don't know. I'm probably about to leave, honestly.
Okay.
But one last thing I will say is about the whole situation. It's obviously horrible. Leaving there when we had a tertiary, a small group of soldiers there. The contingency wasn't really costing us anything. It wasn't a war. It was preventing a lot of this shit. And like I said, I'd be fine permanently staying there with a moderately to small size permanent base, even a large base. That'd be cool. But no, what I'm thinking or expecting to happen is we're going to leave, at least, I guess, except for a few troops, a couple hundred, from what I understand. They're going to leave. They're going to pull out. And the Taliban's, they're already doing it. They're already taking over. They're running in there, invading, fighting, committing atrocities. And I think it's going to turn out the way it did in Iraq, where people, for some reason, they consider the Iraq War to have been finished and totally over, even though because we pulled out troops there. Officially, we pulled them out. We stamped it, wrote down the date, said it's over, we're done. And that happened under Obama. And then, from my understanding, he sent troops back into there to fight ISIS.
Yeah.
And they stayed ever since. They're still there, from what I understand, in the northern parts up towards the Syrian border and in Syria to some extent, I guess. I expect something like that with Afghanistan. We're going to put a stamp on it. We're going to say, we left, the war's over, it's done, it ended on this date, it's over, we're gone. And then all this shit's going to happen, and we're going to send troops back there, and hopefully no one's going to give a shit like they did with Iraq, and they're going to say, well, the war's over, and we end up, with some presence there still. Maybe something like that could happen. It was like I tweeted out, I think we're going to send troops back there within 5 years. Maybe Joe Biden won't be able to do it in his administration, even though I guess Obama did with regard to Iraq, or maybe that was in his second term. I don't remember, but either way, I think they're going to end up going back there. And it might be beneficial for them to be able to just say to the public, to everybody, look, the war's done. It ended on this date. We withdrew the troops, and then they send troops back there. But it's not like, full scale war. It's not like a surge, but we're sending troops back, and we're still going to be there. And maybe that gets the public eye off of it, and we can continue to do it without the scrutiny from the public. So I don't know. Maybe it'll work out in the end.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know so much about that. I mean, you find people who are on the other side and really care about this issue. They'll tell you things like, well, the Iraq war never ended. Like, the Iraq war started 2003. It's still going right now. Totally ignoring all of the milestone events along the way. I feel like the public eye was already off this to a degree, to be honest with you. That's
true.
And you could say, and maybe that's just because it was going on for so long. It almost sounds like, I can see what you're saying. It's looking at things in an optimistic way. I don't think that they're pulling some 5D chess here. I think they're making a tactical mistake.
No,
and
I'm not saying I'm not saying I think that's their plan. I am saying I could see it going that way. I'm not saying that anyone is planning to do this. I am just saying this is the way it could work out, regardless of what they want to do.
No, my worry is that you'd have to go back there after another massive terror attack happens, because they're going to have free reign to either attack the U.S. themselves or work with other terrorists that want to do it and need a place to get their groupings together and figure it out, like how Al-Qaeda did. So, what do you make of that? Like, the idea that there could be another 9/11 now?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's potential. I've always thought it's always been in the back of my mind that within the next 50 years, at some point, we're going to see somewhere in the Western world, and regardless, this wouldn't matter if we, stayed in Afghanistan or not. I think we're going to see something significant either way. Like, it could, whether it originates in Afghanistan or not, I think within the next 50 years, you're going to see some sort of nuclear terrorist attack. And I'm not saying it's like setting off a bomb. It could be that, but it could be sabotaging a nuclear reactor, setting off a dirty bomb, something like that. And not necessarily in the United States, somewhere in the Western world. perhaps. I think that's more. I'm not saying that's certain. I would say it's more likely than not for something like that to happen, and that could change things and could be unexpected. Maybe it won't happen. I don't know. I hope it doesn't, but from my point of view, it seems like we're almost overdue for that sort of thing.
Oh yeah, no, nuclear terrorism is for sure probably one of the biggest threats facing the Western Hemisphere at large. And I mean, yeah, you don't even need it to be like a very large bomb or anything. Even a really tiny, like dirty bomb, as far as yield goes, could still kill a ton of people from the radiation. So,
oh yeah, and even just they send a cell in, and I think they tried to do this in South Africa. You send a cell in and just try to sabotage a nuclear power plant.
That's right.
And try and make an artificial Chernobyl basically
that's right.
occur. Like it could be something like that. And I am not saying either way that that's what they would do, or maybe they do make a bomb. I don't know. Maybe it's a dirty bomb, something like that, but something of a nuclear nature. I think.
Well, if it's any kind of sabotage, it's a good thing that Germany's phasing out their nuclear power plants. Am I right?
Oh man! No, you see, the thing is, there's a professor I was watching. He gave a lecture on YouTube from one of the Harvard schools, and he was going over nuclear security, and he was saying that he can't go into it because it's classified, but he said that because of what they could potentially do, the security is such that it's designed to prevent them from getting into the area with the fissile material, because he said that they operate under the assumption that they have the know-how to make it go off right then and there. In other words, they wouldn't need a bomb or anything. And I have no idea what he's talking about. My best guess is he's thinking if they have like an RPG or something, they stick the two pieces together and blow it up. I don't know. How would you even do it? But he was saying that they'd be able to basically get a crude nuclear bomb just from getting rough uranium pieces or plutonium pieces. I have no idea.
I don't know any of the logistics of how it would work out or anything like that, or where it would happen. I'm not even saying, again, that this would happen in the United States. It could be a Western country, or I guess even it could be Japan. Like, I don't fucking know where these people would decide to. Honestly, be wherever they could. I guess one of the allies could be. Well, I think it's unlikely that it would be Israel, but
probably not those places, because they all have the best security. Very
strict, yeah.
They all have the best security. Like when you mentioned about South Africa, I was reading about that. It would
make sense for it to happen in a place like South Africa.
They had no like the security stock. They were not able to stop them. So
I forget how they did. Like they did prevent it, but it was like almost from a fluke. It was like the terrorists like fucked up. But I can't remember exactly the details of it. But
South Africa. Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, I guess I'm going to dip out, but it's been fun. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. You're welcome. Henry. You're welcome anytime you can find the time.
Yeah. I wish I could finish this. I actually watched this speech live. I think it's a doozy. So have fun with that, especially the reporters. The reporters actually did, from everything else I've seen of his administration, this might have been the most pushback he's ever gotten from the journalists, I think, which is kind of encouraging on a subject like this.
They couldn't have picked a more worthy issue, honestly.
Yeah.
Most other things I could care less about. They don't need pushback. You want to do your ice cream photo shoot? That's fine. This is the real mistake. This is what needs to be covered and pushed back on extensively.
Well,
it is always gross watching those, like, oh, what are you eating there, Joe? You got like ice cream. Like, oh, double chocolate chip. It's just like, what the hell is this? How is this on the news?
Yeah.
But no, I am glad for this, and I don't know how it's going to go. We'll see, I guess. But like I said, I'm already, I got to go. You keep me up past my bedtime, damn it. It's been fun, guys. I'll catch y'all later. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
All right, man.
Stay base.
See ya.
All right, everyone. Henry, everybody. You can subscribe to his channel. The link is in the description below. at American Madhouse, and you can follow him over on Twitter at American Madhouse with no A, just America. So
Mer, yeah, not Mer, Mer.
yeah,
American.
American Madhouse. Yeah, that's right.
He's based, and it's a shame we couldn't get him for too long tonight. But I mean, come on, he's gonna come back. So
yeah, he's also anti-theist pilled too, so that's pretty big.
He's got a lot of pills going on. I mean, this dude's a pill popper. Don't get it twisted.
Yeah,
that's gonna be my new term for someone who's extra base. They just can't stop popping pills.
Yeah, popping pills. That's right. You know, there is a controversy though that would catch the eye of the journalists in a way that this can't even, which is, imagine he did eat the ice cream, but he was wearing a tan suit.
Oh,
you know,
that'd be un-American right there.
You know, we get a lot of controversy and get a lot of people talking for months. A purple suit.
Yes, we have seen evidence of that.
Yeah. Okay, let's get back to the video.
We're never going to make it through, man.
What they do. And the same is true of our NATO allies and partners who have supported, we are supporting and supporting us as well as they conclude their retrograde. I want to be clear. The U.S. military mission in Afghanistan continues through the end of August. We retain personnel and capacities in the country, and we maintain some authority, the same authority under which we've been operating for some time. As I said in April, the United States did what we went to do in Afghanistan, to get the terrorists who attacked us on 9/11 and deliver justice to Osama bin Laden, and to degrade the terrorist threat to keep Afghanistan from becoming a base from which attacks could be continued against the United States. We achieved those objectives. That's why we went.
We achieved that. Dude, they reportedly have control of like 85% of the country now.
Again.
What do you So what do you mean we achieve? Like this is just, you're being gaslit right now. He's lying to your face and just saying, we went in, we achieved our goals. They always try to bring it back to Osama bin Laden. We could give zero fucks about Osama bin Laden at this point. I don't want to ever hear someone mention Osama bin Laden again in my life because he's not relevant. The dude's been dead for 10 years.
Al-Qaeda and the Taliban still exist. So just because they got a new leader, it's not really that relevant.
It's unbelievable to me. So we brought justice to him. How about we bring lasting justice to the group that infamously armed, and harbored them and helped them in their attack against the United States? How about that? We can't even be there. We can't even have a small security detail that holds them back, holds them in place, prevents them from gaining more territory, more power. No, we can't even do that without people freaking out and going on about my endless wars, bro. Can't do it. That's astounding to me.
Endless wars.
Yes, so endless. So this whole thing about, our goals were achieved. All of the people he's pandering to, by the way, right now, don't care about that one bit. They don't care about achieving any goals because they will tell you straight up it was wrong to go in the first place. They won't defend this at all. They won't defend the war on terror, despite the fact that a lot of these people claim to be for defensive action.
That's right.
But they're full of shit.
That's right. No, oftentimes, as I've debated these libertarian type folks, they will argue that you have a right to do war if it's in self-defense. The problem with that is they're opposed to the war in Afghanistan. And so that's them admitting they don't actually think that you have a right to act in self-defense. It's beyond duplicitous on their part to basically make those claims, because what they wind up saying, right, is that, well, you can defend yourself except if it means actually going anywhere. So maybe they would say you have a right to shoot down the Zero bombers and the other bombers that are attacking you on Pearl Harbor. Maybe you have a right to shoot down the planes that are attacking you on 9/11 that have been hijacked, but you don't have a right to go and bomb Japan, and you don't have a right to go and fight the Taliban in Afghanistan. That's what they mean by defense. They mean your defense also has to be within your borders. That's so cringe.
Well, that's exactly
so
what they
lame.
mean.
And if you're asking yourself, if you're out there and asking, how did Pearl Harbor come into this? I've been debating with people, especially on Twitter, but also a couple people in actual debates on stream over the last couple months that have argued that the United States should not have retaliated over Pearl Harbor. That America was asking for it by not selling oil and stuff to Japan when Japan was butchering everybody over in Asia. So in other words,
yeah, I mean, don't you know that they're entitled to our business apparently?
So in other words, it's the same people that are like, it's the same line of argument of people that are defending Jimmy Dore right now. Oh, Anna Kasparian was asking for it, man. America was asking for Japan to bomb all of the fleet at Pearl Harbor. That's what happens. You should have subjected your sovereignty to the emperor. And so it's always sovereignty for thee, but not for me with these people. It's cringe.
Of course.
And it's lame. And yet there are a lot of young people that have been suckered into it and deluded into it, where they think that that's based and red pilled to not defend your security interests. That's so unbelievably weak.
That is America first.
Yes, they call themselves America first. And they actually, it's funny. A lot of them, I was saying today in the group chat, a lot of them are actually pretty racist dudes. They tend not to like black people or Africans very much, but they do have one thing in common with the country in Africa. South Sudan is about 10 years old right now, so they have about a 10-year-old army, and Nick Fuentes has about a 10-year-old army, if you take a look at the kids that were joining him today. So they have that in common. They have 10-year-old armies. So.
Oh, man. What a clown show.
We did not go to Afghanistan to nation build. And it's the right and the responsibility of Afghan people alone to decide their future.
Well, yeah, it's kind of hard to do that when you get murdered by the Taliban if you listen to music or...
Hey, at least you had freedom. At least you had the freedom and autonomy to decide your own future. At least you didn't have that pesky U.S., guiding you along and telling you what to do. Not even really. That's astounding to me. He says this all the time too. We didn't go there to nation build. Sometimes along the way, missions will evolve. Sometimes new things will come into consideration if we're even accepting his version of events. But of course, I mean, of course, there's going to be some level of nation building. If you're going to be propping up certain actors, you went to Afghanistan. You went to Afghanistan for a regime change war, explicitly. It's the meme. You went there for a regime change war. You didn't go there just to, put the hurt on the Taliban and then say, well, I hope you learned your lesson. No, the goal was to completely remove them from power. And now they're coming back into power. So checkmate, mission not complete. Mission failed.
Michael Moore told me they went in for oils. So
in Afghanistan. Okay. Good luck with that.
Wars for oils, man.
Why aren't they in Venezuela then? That'd be easier.
No, because they had to go to Afghanistan and Syria for the oils. That's what Richard.
We're energy independent pretty much at this point. Like,
yeah, so but still wars for oils. That's what you do. That's all that it's about. It's just wars for oil.
No, of course. Okay, it would be more cost than it was worth, honestly.
Well, yeah, literally like the Iraq War. If you want cheap oil, you just get Saddam to be your puppet, and he sells you cheap oil like he was asking to do. Instead, the U.S. spent a lot of money there and didn't take any oil. So to those who say it was a war for oil, they have no idea what they're talking about.
And how they want to run their country. Together With our NATO allies and partners, we have trained and equipped over nearly 300,000 current serving members of the military, the Afghan National Security Force, and many beyond that who are no longer
Who are being
serving.
slaughtered.
Add to that.
And many are deserting right now because the U.S. doesn't have their back anymore. So.
Oh, but we trained them, so that should be good enough, right?
I guess.
We taught some men how to fish, and they'll be okay. There's nothing to worry about. Don't look at the man behind the curtain.
Yeah, you teach a man to fish, you'll feed him for a lifetime. So they teach a man to fish, and then they go and take him to the very shark-infested waters in a small raft, and say, "Hey, man, like if the sharks come for you, just like get out your fishing rod."
Basically.
Trained over the last 2 decades. We provided our Afghan partners with all the tools, let me emphasize, all the tools, training equipment of any modern military. We provided advanced weaponry, and we're going to continue to provide funding and equipment. And we'll ensure
and now that's all getting in the hands of the Taliban because of the hasty withdrawal.
Yes. It's like a repeat of Mosul, where they just take like 800 Humvees because the army wasn't trained well enough to know what to do with it. Weak. I mean, he talks about it as if it's just like the Canadian military or the Spanish military or something. It's like, no, this is one of the hardest areas in the world to fight in. You should give them the best training possible. And the United States didn't really do that. So
you can give these guys the best equipment. It's such a fallacy. The best equipment, the best training, and then you pull the plug on any like substantial support. And they were already in dire straits. They were already backs up against the wall in many cases. And we've seen a surge of Taliban recruitment and things of that nature. And but we gave them equipment, we gave them weapons, so it should be fine. So right at the height of these tensions, to the point where we've seen it objectively play out, where we pull out 90% of our forces, they take over a good portion of the nation again. Oh, they should have been prepared though. They had weapons. They had the best weapons. Look, I know the best people with the best weapons. It doesn't make a difference if it gets to the point where you're outnumbered basically. And you brought up that stat in an earlier show regarding the casualties, that even with the U.S. support, the casualties between Afghan security forces and the Taliban were neck and neck. Now, not so much. Now we're seeing a ratio.
Over the last 20 years, both the Taliban and the Afghan security forces have lost roughly 70,000 people each. So they were about equal with Western support. What does that mean? It means the Taliban is generally they have an advantage. And so you have to counter that advantage like Obama did for a few years with a surge of troops to support them. But then Obama gets no credit because he withdrew. He brought down the surge back to the levels it was before he started it prematurely. So that was lame. It was really lame. Because what would the progressives say?
Oh no. Again, it's one of those things where it's these concerns on the domestic stage are so needless. Because let's say that happened in Obama's first term. Do we really think that would have affected his chances of re-election against Mitt Romney? No, not one bit. Not one bit. Those guys, they would have come out, they would have swallowed their pride, and they would have voted for Obama. Or they all live in states where their votes don't matter anyway. So who cares what they think?
Now you're saying people's votes don't matter. That sounds bad, man. That's bad optics, man. It's called
the truth, and the truth doesn't always have good optics.
Oh man.
To maintain their Air Force. But most critically, as I stressed in my meeting just 2 weeks ago with President Ghani and Chairman Abdullah.
Oh yeah, StreamYard. Oh, StreamYard did okay for the first hour, but
Amazingly enough, it's actually we'll give it a little bit of credit. Probably the best StreamYards has ever been for us.
yes.
Afghan leaders have to come together and drive toward a future that
What does that
Afghan
even
people want
mean?
and they deserve.
It means the Taliban comes in and other Taliban dudes come in and they say to the Afghan government, look, we can do this the hard way or the easy way. And that's it. They come together.
Yeah, everyone come together, and we're going to have a compromise with evil. And, well, basically what that means is, there's no compromise, and they just completely take over. And, I mean, like, once you don't have an actual security force, you don't have any governing power, it's over. And your allies have all abandoned you. Oh, yeah, it's game over, man. Game over. That's unbelievable. I hate this rhetoric. I hated it when Tanky Tulsi said it about Venezuela.
Yeah.
And I especially hate it here. This is unbelievable. This whole notion of, they need to choose their own future. And we need to stop meddling, man. It's like this prime directive bullshit. Like, so basically, because then if you advocate for a continued military presence, what are you, an imperialist colonizing monster? You want to interfere with these people's way of life? Actually, yes, because our interference is actually going to preserve all the good that's been achieved over the last 2 decades, and it's going to prevent the country from falling into ruin. Oh, but apparently you have to be culturally relativistic and just accept that things play out like this.
No, but you only think it was good what was done because you're a white Eurocentric Westerner.
Anglo.
You're
Anglo
an Anglo
ethics.
box. If you were brown, you would support the Taliban. That's what they would tell you.
Oh, I could find you a good number of people who disagree with that on the ground, but that is a story for another day.
They're just Uncle Toms for neocon ghouls and stuff.
It's amazing to me what the absolute fucking monstrosity that's being sold to us right now in the name of, diversity of cultural acceptance.
Yes.
And things of that sort.
Well, it's
That's what's being told to you.
It's the paradox, the tolerance of intolerance. So that's what's going on. So.
Yeah, they take something objectively terrible, and to be honest about it, you're not going to sell it that way. So you have to dress it up. You have to pretend like it's this noble thing where we're respecting people, giving them liberty, giving them autonomy, and smiling and going to brunch while they get trampled over.
Yeah, it's dismal.
In our meeting, I also assured Ghani that U.S. support for the...
Hey, yeah. So there's StreamYard again.
We jinxed it.
Yeah. Okay, there we go.
People of Afghanistan will endure. We will continue to provide civilian and humanitarian assistance, including speaking out for the rights of women and girls.
Oh yeah, you can express strong concern. You can speak fast. What's that going to do? What's that going to do?
Including speaking out for the rights of women and girls. Oh, really? Are you going to actually do any sort of action on behalf of the women and girls? No? Okay.
No.
I'm glad to know. Like, this is, again, here we go. Here's a prime example of thoughts and prayers. Thanks for nothing. You have a chance to, at the bare minimum, continue with what we were doing, which was nothing, which wasn't a drain on the economy, which wasn't a massive graveyard of American casualties in recent years. But what it was an anti-terrorist insurance policy, and it was keeping this, one of the most volatile regions on Earth, in check. Now we don't have any of that. Now we have to start over like it's 2001. So that's amazing. That is utterly amazing to me. And you know what? It doesn't matter how bad the situation gets, because when we inevitably have to go back, there's going to be people who say, well, it's been 20 years, man. Why do you still care?
It's been 20
totally
years.
ignoring events that are happening this week. You know, obviously we care about what happened 20 years ago, but that's not exactly the concern right now. We don't need to go back to something that happened 20 years ago. I'm concerned with what happened today. I'm concerned about what's going to happen tomorrow. How about we focus on that? So all these people, my 20 years ago, just totally living in the past.
It's like the epic handshake meme. There's us, and then there's Joe Biden, and it just says being concerned.
we are concerned. That's the meme. The meme is that, you know, obviously everyone's concerned to some degree. The difference is that we actually wish to act on those concerns.
Well, no.
Biden
Nick Fuentes would put his hand up and say, "No, I'm not concerned. You guys are gay."
Well, you know, there's some honesty
gay
there.
video.
This gay country that banned me from the flight.
Took his money and took his money. Don't forget about that. That was pretty awesome too.
They should take some more of his money. That'd be really funny.
He got kicked out of CPAC today. And Ian Miles Strong was just like, who let the children in? And he had that video of them walking around. They look like they're 10 years old.
Even Chong can't stand these guys.
He can't stand them.
That tells you something.
But they call them not an American in the comments. You look at the comments and they're like, okay, not American. Because
that's true, but it's not relevant. He's like an Indonesian dude.
Yeah, but they don't think that you can be American unless you're white. That's what they were getting at.
Oh, I see. Yeah, they were going on about, who's that guy? The Gen Z GOP, Sam Abobo, is that his name?
Sam Abodo, yeah, him.
Abodo, there we go. Yeah, so he just became an American citizen, and he was celebrating Nick Fuentes being banned from Twitter, and they were like, "This is not America first." When a black man who just became American celebrating our daddy being banned, it was pretty funny. You know, excluding how obviously disgusting it was, but it was a little funny.
I mean, it of course harks back to the Groyper Wars insurrection where Charlie Kirk was with that black conservative, and all the Groypers lined up to tell him that and he was gay too, and they're like, how does gay sex win the culture war, and like, how does being black win the culture war, all that kind of stuff. And he's like, well, I'm black and gay, and I'm a part of your movement. And they're like, no, you're not. It was so cringy. Like, it's cringy on two angles, because you're like, dude, what are you doing? This isn't the party for you. And then on the other angle, it's like, dude, go live in Iran or something, like, to the Groypers. So
no, that is funny. And I mean,
it's to that dude, to that black guy, I forget his name. No, that's not the party for you. To the Nick Fuentes people, America's not the country for you. You'd be happier in like Serbia or some shit. Like, get out.
Surprised to see Charlie Kirk bend so much on that, to be honest with you.
Charlie Kirk is a joke. He doesn't actually have any backbone. He's lame. He's totally lame. He has more of a backbone than Dave Rubin, but that's not saying much. So
there you go.
I intend to maintain our diplomatic presence in Afghanistan, and we're coordinating closely.
Presidents
in Afghanistan?
Send them all.
He meant presence, but
I think he means himself. Hey, you know, feel free, but I wouldn't advise it in these current conditions.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're obviously gonna keep my embassy. Somebody take me up on the bet. We're gonna have a hostage situation incoming. It's gonna happen. There's no way it's not happening. Or at the very least, there's no way in hell that embassy's sticking around for long. No way in hell.
No, I don't see how it would survive with just a few hundred troops, because the only way that it wouldn't is if the Taliban thought that killing any of the U.S. troops would necessarily bring America back into the war against them. But I don't think that Joe Biden has the political will to go back if that happens. I think he would let it happen and work out a deal with them.
Mm-hmm.
To like get hostages out.
It just tells you how backward everything is right now, because so we're seeing the tensions rise up, the potential breakout of what could easily be described as a new civil war, even worse than anything that's been happening over the last couple of years. And what do? We withdraw all our troops and we send diplomats. Yeah, that's who you send to the fucking front line of the war. Your diplomat. And it's amazing to me. Like, you could hoodwink these guys so easily. They look at what happened with Trump with the negotiations, and they think, all right, these guys are reasonable. You can bring them to the table, and they'll accept deals. It's like, yeah, they'll accept deals that totally favor them and don't favor you at all. Oh, yeah, then they'll accept deals. Then they're statesmen. Then they're diplomacy bros. And it doesn't matter what they do. They could be committing any number of atrocities during the course of those negotiations, before, after, and they choose not to focus on that. They choose to focus on the negotiations and the diplomacy that makes them feel good. Just like with the Iran deal, let's pat ourselves on the back and let's call it a day. Let's go home. And that way, Joe Biden can get his Nobel Peace Prize. And he can say, look at my first term. Look at what I accomplished, America. I got us out of America's longest war. He also specifically said he didn't want to kick this can down the road for a future administration.
Uh-oh.
Something tells me that statement is not going to age very well.
Uh-oh. You know what that means it's time for. You're going to have to issue an alert.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Whoa.
Uh-oh.
The clown.
We're going to continue to secure the international airport. And we're going to engage in a determined diplomacy to pursue peace and a peace agreement that will end this senseless violence. I've asked Secretary of State Blinken and our Special Representative for Afghanistan Reconciliation to work vigorously with the parties in Afghanistan, as well as the regional and international stakeholders, to support a negotiated solution. To be clear, countries in the region have an essential role to play in supporting a peaceful settlement.
Like Pakistan, which is the creator of the Taliban and harbored Osama bin Laden. Yes, they have a role to play, sure. What about communist?
Don't worry, they'll play a role.
Communist China, they'll play a role, as we've talked about. Joe Lewis is hyped on that. He's like, yes, based imperialism for China. Awesome. Iran. Oh, yeah, Turkmenistan. What are we talking about, Joe?
all the vultures circling overhead. He's saying, hey, look down there. There's a feast. Have at it.
I guess we got some Democratic allies in Turkmenistan that can do nation building, right?
Oh, totally. Yeah, there's so many. I mean, basically, it doesn't matter if the U.S. pulls out, because basically every other nation on Earth is the same. They all hold the same values. They all believe in building strong democratic institutions that protect people's liberties, protect them from violence in the street. Totally.
No. Chris is wrong here. He says, don't forget Kurdistan. I didn't forget Kurdistan. It's just it's not relevant because Kurdistan is inside Afghanistan. It's not one of the neighboring countries that Joe Biden was referring to. It's inside Afghanistan. So you got to let the Kurds deal with the Taliban. Like Joe
That's
Lewis
a good point. Maybe they'll be our trump card at the end of all this.
We'll work with them, and they should help step up their efforts as well. We're going
Hold on a second, Kevin. I need to shit on Joe Lewis a little bit here.
Wait, Joe Lewis or Joe Biden?
Joe Lewis. We'll have plenty of time to shit on Joe Biden. But Joe Lewis, his whole thing when he was going off on you was, how can you say the Kurds don't matter? He was having some diatribe about how totally irrelevant about how Trump abandoned the Kurds. in Syria,
no.
which
He
is something we don't
thinks
support.
the Kurds are in Afghanistan. Like that was his thing. He thinks Kurdistan's in Afghanistan.
But that was amazing to me because he did bring up Trump abandoning them as a bad thing, but then he wants us to withdraw from Afghanistan.
Oh,
Wouldn't we also be abandoning the Kurds that way too? Out of one side of his mouth, he was like, abandoning the Kurds, that's terrible. And then out of the other side, he's like, let's abandon the Kurds. What a loser.
Loser.
A loser and a boozer.
And a boozer.
For the release of detained Americans, including Mark, Ferrix. I want to pronounce the name correctly. I misspoke. So that he can return to his family safely.
I wish that was the excuse for all of this. After he gives the speech, I wish he was just like, oops, I misspoke. Actually, we're not leaving.
Oopsies.
Uh-oh.
No, it's a mess. It's a total mess. Like, what countries? Like, can he just name one country? Because you're talking about, like, Turkmenistan, Iran, I think Tajikistan, China,
Russia.
Well, I guess they're a neighbor, but they're a distant neighbor. And then you've got Pakistan. All those countries are hostile to varying degrees. So, what a disaster! Like, what a moron! What a clown!
And he was going on about how it was up to the Afghanis to determine their own future. But then he's like saying, "Oh yeah, these other nations, who are who are around and have had some interest in this, yeah, they'll play a role too." Well, how much of a role? What if their role, very likely, snuffs out the autonomy of Afghanistan itself? Are we going to do anything about that? Will there be any consequences for that? Probably not. Probably not. Maybe this was a bad idea from the get-go. Maybe we should have just said, you know what? Nope. And Joe Biden, he could have very easily dodged any kind of blame if he were to run for re-election around this issue. He absolutely could. Who would find that compelling? Find me people. Anyone who would have been dissuaded from voting for Joe Biden because he said no to Trump's withdrawal plan. He stayed in Afghanistan. Those people wouldn't have been voting for Joe Biden to begin with. They really wouldn't have been. And I seriously doubt that, Trump, if he was running again, yeah, he'd probably attack him on it. But, who cares? I mean, all that would do is really unite the left around staying in Afghanistan. And if, Rob or Ron DeSantis, whatever you want to call him this week, if he attacked him on it.
Rob Erdogan.
Would anyone care? I seriously doubt it. I really do. He has nothing to lose. But he's pandering. He's actively pandering to a group of people who do not support him for nothing. For a Nobel Peace Prize.
Even Kiwis.
Not even Kiwis, no.
Not even Kiwis. So that's sad. Man.
Take on the Afghan nationals who work side by side with U.S. forces, including interpreters and translators, since we're no longer going to have military there after this. We're not going to need them, and they have no jobs.
Yeah, we totally don't need them anymore.
Vital to our efforts, they've been very vital, and so their families are not exposed to danger as well. We've already dramatically accelerated the procedure time for special immigrant visas to bring them to the United States.
Everything he says contradicts his premise. Everything.
Yeah.
When he talks about the interpreters, the people who worked with us, their families being in danger, when he talks about, well, we need to get the troops out as quickly as possible to avoid danger, What he's really telling you is that mission is not accomplished.
Yes.
So all this line of, oh, we took out Osama bin Laden, mission accomplished. We did it. We did what we came to do. Is complete horseshit. It's utterly unbelievable how much he's contradicting himself right now.
Yeah,
you couldn't make it up. You couldn't make it up, man. Everything he says highlights how volatile the situation is right now. And he's like, well, we're done. Nothing more to be seen here, folks. We're going to move on. It's very interesting.
All, folks. That's all, folks.
Yeah, how about you get into the specifics of this danger you're talking about? Wait a minute, danger to the families of the interpreters. What danger? Hold on, what are we not being told here? What are we not being told by White Flag Joe that the press is going to relentlessly grill him on? What are we not being told? Who's posing a threat to the families of these interpreters? Very interesting. I would love to hear more about that.
Yeah.
On January 20th, we've already approved 2,500 special immigrant visas to come to the United States. Up to now, fewer than half have exercised their right to do that. Half have gotten on aircraft and commercial flights and come, and the other half believe they want to stay, at least thus far.
Oh, we're so noble, aren't we? Look at us. Look at us. We're saving thousands of people. We could be saving tens of millions of people.
That's right.
But we saved a few thousand. That's good enough, right?
That's right. Yeah. Yeah, it's 37
there we
million.
go.
37 million versus 2,500.
That's amazing. Like, that is the ultimate defeatism right there. Is, look, we've given up on your country. There's nothing we can do for you. Now you can come to our awesome country. Yeah, a few of you, comparatively. Here's the thing. You don't have to do that, though. How about we stop accepting a world in which a smattering of countries are decent, a smattering of countries are livable. I'm so sick of that. I'm so sick of these people. You know, Joe Biden really gets it because he is a liberal. He's constantly championing the virtues of liberalism and freedom and democracy, and seems content for those values to exist in a very small corner of the world. No, that is not an acceptable situation at all. The status quo needs to be changed.
Yes.
It needs to be challenged. People need to say, you know what? You know, it's great if people want to come to our country, but that is not good enough anymore. You're never going to save everyone that way. You're not even going to come close. You're going to save like 1% of people that way. What you need to do, instead of importing people into your country, you export your country everywhere else.
Base.
That's how you win. And you know how you don't do that? Fucking retreating like a coward.
No,
for
but you
no
have to
other
retreat
reason
fast.
than the last administration told you to do so.
Retreat fast. Retreat big.
Yeah, for the safety of the troops.
Dude. I mean,
how can people accept that? How can people they'd be like, well, you know, America's free. These other places, nah.
Because they
don't have a chance.
No, they're relativists. They don't actually stand for anything. It's lame and cringe. So especially, you know, I get it with some situations. They're going to be a bit more tricky. It'd be tricky to liberate China. Trickier than Afghanistan, for sure. Here's the thing, though. We were the bulwark that was protecting anything resembling freedom in this country. And we fucking gave up. So that's on us. That's our responsibility. So all the people who are going to lambaste America and blame America for this, they are right. They're absolutely right. And we don't need to just go along with everything jingoistically, like, well, the president said this, so it must be true. I mean, he is the president. How can you disagree with him? Most powerful person in the world. Except he's wrong. I got called a jingoist today in the comments on one of my videos. So that was funny.
For what?
I can't even remember. It was probably it was one of the Hawk ones. So.
Yeah, totally jingoistic content going on over here.
Yeah.
so that we can streamline the process of approving those visas. And those who have stood up for the operation to physically relocate thousands of Afghans and their families before the U.S. military mission concludes, so that if they choose, they can wait safely outside of Afghanistan while their U.S. visas are being processed. The operation has identified U.S. facilities outside of the continental United States, as well as in third countries, to host our Afghan allies if they choose, if they so choose. And this, starting this month, we're going to begin to begin relocation flights for Afghanistan SIV applicants and their families who choose to leave. We have a point person in the White House and at the State Department-led task force coordinating all of these efforts. But our message to those women and men is clear. There is a home for you in the United States if you so choose, and we will stand with you just as you stood with us. When I made the decision to end the U.S. military involvement in Afghanistan.
Yeah, we'll stand with you. We'll stand with you, a couple thousand people. Oh, you millions of people? Not so much. We're not going to stand with you.
2,500 out of 37 million people. So basically,
do the math, somebody.
It works out to about what is that? 0.6 in 10,000. So there you go.
We did it, Patrick. We saved the city.
That's right. That's the meme.
I judged that it was not in the national interest of the United States of America to continue fighting this war indefinitely. I made the decision with clear eyes, and I'm briefed daily on the battlefield updates. But for those who have argued that we should stay just 6 more months or just 1 more year, I asked them to consider the lessons of recent history. In 2011, the NATO allies and partners agreed that we would end our combat mission in 2014. In 2014, some argued 1 more year. So we kept fighting. We kept taking casualties. In 2015, the same, and on and on. Nearly 20 years of experience has shown us that the
no, but okay, only a few years of that was a serious troop presence. So
it's almost like new considerations arise while you're conducting an operation. And if you're not even really dedicating yourself to it, yeah, maybe it will take a little bit longer. That's amazing to me. So basically, because people in the past said that we should stay longer, if people say that now, despite all this evidence of why this was a bad move, hey, look, man, that's what people said in the past. That doesn't do anything for me. It's not compelling to me. Therefore, checkmate. Therefore, we don't need to stay. Don't tell me about the casualties. Don't tell me about the Taliban Gans. Don't tell me about any of that. Because I know, because that's what we've heard for 20 years. Yeah, you've heard that for 20 years because there was a need to stay for all of those 20 years. That's how this works. That's amazing to me. So even people at the time who were saying, yeah, let's stay, like, let's just limit it. Let's just have a deadline. Hey, give us 1 more year. No. I don't work like that. I really don't. I don't like when people introduce time as a factor, as if that's at all relevant. No, so what you need to say is, we're going to stay until this is done. That way people can't pull this bullshit of, well, it's been a year.
Been a year,
I was marking down on my calendar and it's been a year. It's time to leave. Nope. Unacceptable.
It's been arbitrary, predetermined date amount of time, bro. So therefore it's time to leave, regardless of what the conditions on the ground would indicate. That's the logic that's being employed here.
This is like, that was supposed to be compelling to us. He was talking directly to us. All these people who are advocating we stay, consider that people in the past said that. Yes, and those people were right. Those people were right, and Joe Biden is wrong. Next.
Situation only confirms that just one more year of fighting in Afghanistan is not a solution, but a recipe for being there indefinitely. It's up to the Afghans to make the decision.
Not dedicating yourself to it is a recipe for being there indefinitely.
Yeah.
Not actually dedicating a serious troop presence, more than a security detail, is how you stay there indefinitely. Staying there indefinitely would have been fine, honestly, if people really didn't have the political will to pursue the absolute destruction of the Taliban. That would have been better than what we're dealing with now if we just kept things as they were. But even that was too much. They try to make this, even that out, to be like, oh my God, it's unthinkable. We're going to be there forever. Why would I be bothered by that? The only reason I'd be bothered by that is from the perspective of, okay, well, let's get this over with and dedicate ourselves to other problems. Yeah. But no, they're coming from the angle of, oh, we've been there too long. Well, we actually have our soldiers in the field and not just lounging on bases in Florida.
The thing is, you get asked, well, has it been too long then in Japan, in Germany, and elsewhere? And of course, a lot of these loser gripers would say, yes, it's been too long. Come home. So,
if you asked Trump that, he would say it's been too long. He wanted all those guys to come home too.
Lame. Like, that's
they're
so
in danger. Lame. They're in the middle of the war zone, man.
Japan.
The empire will rise once more.
Others are more direct. Their argument is that we should stay with the Afghanistan indefinitely. In doing so, they point to the fact that we have not taken losses in this last year. So they claim that the cost of just maintaining.
Wait, he's talking about us right now.
Yes, and we don't think that we should necessarily. We don't think we should necessarily stay indefinitely. We actually we want it to be done, and then going forward, we have a new ally. So you wouldn't have to stay there indefinitely if you actually did a good job at preventing the Taliban from coming into power again, which we have not done over the last 10 years.
Yeah.
Status quo is minimal, but that ignores the reality and the facts already presented on the ground in Afghanistan when I took office. The Taliban is at its strongest militarily since 2001. The number of U.S.
It's an argument for staying.
Afghanistan had been reduced to a bare minimum, and the United States and the last administration made an agreement that with the Taliban to remove all our forces by May 1 of this year.
You don't agree with the past administration on anything else.
But no, he agrees on this because we're bad.
I mean, they made a deal. And we can't, these guys are such deal fetishizers. I'm so sick of it.
Yeah, it's very annoying. That's the liberal internationalist fetish right there. Deal.
Oh, well, they made a deal. I mean, what would it look like if we backed away from a deal?
A deal.
It's like people who say, I never back away from a challenge. They say, I never back away from a negotiation.
That's right. I negotiated strong and fast.
Yeah. Oh, no. I mean,
no, they're so lame, dude.
Come on. These are the arguments he's bringing to the table. They're such garbage.
Like, yes. And he'd be like, yes. Strong arguments.
Come on, man. Come on, man.
I mean, he said no malarkey. So he owes a lot of people their money back.
I feel like I'm owed an apology after watching this. This is bad.
That's right, but we're not done yet. There's still 20 more minutes to go.
Oh, Jesus. Okay.
Was the reason that Taliban had ceased major attacks against U.S. forces. If in April,
Okay.
instead announced that the United States was going back on that agreement made by the last administration, the United States and allied forces would remain in Afghanistan for the foreseeable future. The Taliban would have again begun to target our forces. The status quo was not an option.
They were already doing
Stalin
that.
would have met you.
Yeah. Oh
Like,
man.
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you do regarding the deal. They're going to target you. That's
Well,
how
yeah.
it goes.
They're not exactly fans.
Believe it or not, no.
Not exactly fans.
That's amazing to me. And again, like that's like such an ultra nationalistic argument to totally ignore the suffering of the country that you're, supposedly aligned with and are protecting. Well, they're targeting all these other people. But what if we don't capitulate to them? Then they'll target us. Well, then you fight them back. You do realize you're more powerful than them, right?
You'd say
Do you
no,
have
they have
better
more
equipment?
clout. They have more clout.
Well, they do have God on their side, so it's a hard one to beat.
Such troops taking casualties. American men and women back in the middle of a civil war. And we would run the risk of having to send more troops back into Afghanistan to defend
Oh,
the remaining
no.
troops.
Oh
Once that agreement with
no!
the
But that's
Not
going to
more
happen anyway.
troops.
That's going to happen anyway.
We would have had to send more troops. We couldn't have just skated by with the bare minimum. We might have actually had to dedicate ourselves to something. What that would have been nation building.
That's the spook word right there.
Don't say that.
Yeah, you can't say that. That's a spook word. Nation building. That's what the neocon ghouls do.
The no word.
Right. And you can't do that. That's a no. That's a no.
That's a big no.
It's a big no.
Taliban had been made. Staying with a bare minimum force was no longer possible. So let me ask those who want us to stay. How many thousands more Americans' daughters
Oh, come on, streamer.
and sons are you willing to risk? How long would you have them stay? Already we have members of our military whose parents fought in Afghanistan 20 years ago.
Irrelevant.
Would you send their
How
children?
many innocent Americans are you willing to risk in a future terrorist attack emanating from forces based in Afghanistan because they have safe harbor? That's my question.
I mean, 9/11 killed more people than on the U.S. side than died in 20 years in Afghanistan. That was one terrorist attack. So
That's just that's such unbelievable emotional blackmail that he's pulling on everyone.
No, it's lame.
Taliban. That's right. I didn't want to say anything. We pause so much as is, but it is kind of funny.
Taliban. Come on, Joe.
Come on, man.
Come on, man. I pressed play. Okay. Go back.
How many thousands more Americans' daughters and sons are you willing to risk? How long would you have them stay? Already we have members of our military whose parents fought in Afghanistan 20 years ago. Would you send their children and their grandchildren as well? Would you send your own son or daughter? After 20 years, $1 trillion spent training and equipping.
It's called the volunteer army.
Thousands of
like no one. This isn't fucking Mulan. No one's sending their son to war. These are people who are adults. They knew what they were getting into. Can we please stop infantilizing them, for fuck's sake? I mean, he should know. He should know. His son fought in the war. But apparently he's going to pull that argument on everyone.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah, this is hashtag White Flag Joe right now.
Would you send their children and their grandchildren as well? Would you send your own son or daughter? After 20 years, $1 trillion spent training and equipping hundreds of thousands of Afghan national security and defense forces. 2,448 Americans killed.
Right, but it's worth noting that the death toll 9/11 was more than that, and those people never volunteered to be in harm's way. So,
Yeah, they did because they're American.
oh right, yeah,
They chose to, they chose to reap the reward of their privilege, and look what it got them.
that's what Hassan Piker would say, as he
America
streamed
deserved
for
it.
25,000 people with technology that only exists because of the U.S. to trash talk the U.S.
Don't worry, he's gonna find all the countries on the map eventually.
Yeah, he'll find out where China is one of these days, and Pakistan. He'll figure it out. We should play that clip at some point. That was so funny. How much he struggled to find countries that he should obviously know where they are.
Countries that are right next to his home country, by the way.
Yeah.
722 more wounded, and untold thousands coming home with unseen trauma to their mental health. I will not send another generation of Americans to war in Afghanistan with no reasonable expectation of achieving a different outcome. The United States cannot afford to remain tethered to policy.
You get the same outcome by doing the same failed policy. The failed policy is not doing the war. The failed policy is doing the war half-assedly. That's the failed policy. How about that? How about you? So there's two solutions on the table. One is actually dedicate yourself to something meaningful that's going to be good for American national security going forward, or you just abandon ship. Well, obviously, go with the latter.
Yeah.
It's the path of least resistance.
Yeah. What a mess. What a mess.
Response to a world as it was 20 years ago. We need to
I don't care how the world was 20 years ago. No, okay. The terrorists, yeah, no, let's deal with the let's stop bringing up 20 years ago. What happened 20 years ago is not relevant. Yeah, let's talk about what happened today. Oh yeah, do you want to talk about what happened today, Joe? Oh no, you really don't.
That's kind of awkward.
All the reporters are about to bring that up, and well, you don't enjoy those questions. You want to think about happy things. You want to go grill. Rainbows and grills, and it's 4th of July. All that good stuff.
July, man, it's 4th of July, man. That's what we watched last time.
I'll get to your questions next week. Don't worry, man.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah, let's focus on the problems of the here and now. This is such a fallacy. Like, we're conducting our foreign policy like it's 20 years ago. Nope. Not even close. Not even close. We're people who are cautioning against this. The military experts who are against Joe Biden on this issue. Are any of them bringing up 9/11? No, they're bringing up potential terrorist attacks. They're also talking about real-time security concerns in the region. That's what they're talking about. They're not talking about 9/11. They're talking about the seizure of regions in Afghanistan by the Taliban, unprecedented amount over the last 2 months. Directly emboldened by our withdrawal. Oh, but you're living 20 years in the past, man. That's unbelievable. That would be right up there if somebody was saying, we need to really do something about the rise of Nazi Germany. And someone's like, oh, you're still going on about the Germans? I mean, your dad fought them, man.
Oh, yeah, man.
You're living in the past, man. It's like, what are you living in the past? I'm talking about something that happened right now. I'm talking about the invasion of Poland right now. I'm not living in the past. But thanks for the fucking waste of time argument.
Forgive and forget, man.
Ah, yes.
Okay. Okay. Come
I
on.
will not send another generation of Americans.
Okay. So I guess the reporters are about to ask him some questions. So,
I was really hoping to get to that.
yeah.
To war in Afghanistan with no reasonable expectation of achieving a different outcome. The United States cannot afford to remain tethered to policies created in response to a world as it was 20 years ago. We need to meet the threats where they are today. Today, the terrorist threat has metastasized beyond Afghanistan. So, we are repositioning our resources and adapting.
That includes Afghanistan.
Wait. But it existed outside of Afghanistan in 2001 too. So
that's true. That'd also be an argument for more intervention, which he doesn't support.
Yes, I can't get over the fact that we're almost at the 2-hour mark. We're 11 minutes into the runtime of this. Are you kidding me, Joe Biden?
I didn't mean for it to go this way, but hey, you know, it is what it is.
In our counterterrorism posture to meet the threats where they are now, significantly higher in South Asia, the Middle East, and Africa. But make no mistake, our military and intelligence leaders are confident they have the capabilities to protect the homeland and our interests from any resurgent terrorist challenge emerging or emanating from Afghanistan.
That's very interesting. What about the situation in Afghanistan?
Oh no, let's not talk about that. That'd be awkward.
Oh, it's so basically, it's fine because we have the TSA now. Therefore, we don't need to worry about any of that going down anymore. Problem is that there's going to be, you know, new forms of terrorism that we can't even imagine at the moment. They're going to find, you know, new chinks in the armor, as safe as we think we are, as arrogant and up our own ass as we can be in terms of, oh, we're untouchable, we're on Mount Olympus, we're not even a part of the world. No, we're going to be brought down to reality sooner than later, and it's not going to be a pretty sight. And then you're going to have people saying, oh, maybe we should have listened to those guys who said, oh, where did the threat emanate from? Afghanistan? Yeah, maybe we should have done something preemptively to prevent the Taliban from rising to power again. So go back to a time where these guys would have been arguing for us to go against the Taliban in the first place, to take them out of power. Was that a problem? That would be my question to Joe Biden. Is the Taliban being in power a problem to you? Just on the face of it. Not how can he say that the terrorist threat has been neutralized in Afghanistan? How can he say that at all? When the terrorist threat is on the rise, objectively speaking. This isn't a matter of opinion. You know, people can say anything they want about fear mongering. Oh, you don't know. And really, no one knows anything. So why prepare yourself for any situation? You don't know. You don't know what's going to happen. Some of us are a little bit more forward thinking than that. Some of us look at what has happened. We look at what could happen. We prepare for the worst. And if the worst doesn't happen, that's actually good. That's not an own against us. Same thing with Iraq failing to get a nuclear arsenal.
That's right.
People keep going on about you didn't find WMDs, bro. And it's like, well, they found plenty of the chemical variety. But they didn't find any nukes. That's a good thing. That means that we got there right in the nick of time. That's how this works. Some of us, we don't just wait for a 9/11 to happen. We don't just wait for a Pearl Harbor to happen. We actually want to prevent those things from happening at all.
That's right.
That's called being fucking smart. And not just sitting around like, oh, what's happening out there? I don't know, man. Oh, are the threats amassing against us? Who has the time? Who could really dedicate themselves to such a project? I'm content to just sit here and Is our security good? Well, yeah, the experts at the Pentagon said so. Oh wait, they're also telling me that we should probably stay the course in Afghanistan. Oh, I'm gonna ignore that part. But they told me, don't worry. I heard the first sentence fragment of what they had to say, where they said that we're in top shape, that we have the capacity to prevent terrorist attacks. Yeah, you know what? That's true. That's true. We for the most part, most attacks against the U.S. have failed, and that's a good thing. But every now and then, one doesn't fail, and that's the concern. I'm not concerned about the ones that failed. I'm concerned about the ones that won't. And there is no way in hell, I don't care how good the security of your nation is, they're not all going to fail. They're not. There's no way they're all going to fail. So how about, and so if you have this threat on the rise, this nation that has harbored terrorists who hate you in the past and have committed large-scale terrorist attacks against you in the past, the largest in U.S. history, mind you, oh, no, that's not a big deal. It objectively and mathematically speaking increases the chances of terrorist attacks against you. I don't fucking care how good your security is. I don't fucking care how locked down your country is. It doesn't matter. It does not matter. There's going to be an attack. Chances are there's going to be an attack. Oh, but don't worry. There's nothing to worry about here. And he's just going to throw up this red herring of, well, there's terrorist threats in other places too, man.
Yeah.
Oh, should we do anything about that? No.
No.
Yeah, what are we going to do about that? What are we going to do about that?
Come on, man.
Like he's acting like he's like, oh yeah, I'm campaigning against terrorism. You want to do a deal with the largest state sponsor of terrorism in the world.
In the world, yeah.
You want to do a peace deal with them. That's going to fail. And as far as I can tell, bringing them back to the table, it's not like we've rewritten the JCPOA. It doesn't take into account any of their other regional activity. It's strictly a nuclear deterrent. Even Macron was saying it should include other things.
Yeah. That's true. That's actually true, yeah.
I'm losing my goddamn mind, man.
A counterterrorism over-the-horizon capability that will allow us to keep our eyes firmly fixed on any direct threats to the United States and the region and act quickly and decisively if needed. We also need to focus on shoring up America's core strengths to meet the strategic competition with China and other nations that is really going to determine our future.
What
So let's give them Afghanistan. That'll work.
Yeah, give them a vassal state. Even Vosh knew that. Even Joe Louis knew that. That's amazing. It's what do you even say to that? The whataboutery is off the charts of, well, we could deal with this problem, but what about this other problem? Okay, how about we address that too? And how about we don't give China more territory to deal with and more resources to exploit?
No, it's crazy. But what I will say is that we are going to have to wrap this up in about half an hour, though, because I got to be up early tomorrow. So this might be the first episode of Ghoul Gang Rising where we only get one video. That's how bad this is.
You know, it's not the worst thing in the world. Maybe we'll do something else later in the week. I don't know.
Yeah, later in the week. I mean, I got a debate tomorrow, so hopefully the person I'm debating shows up. So,
given the recent track record, I wouldn't bet money on it.
I never heard from that guy, by the way, but he's been tweeting. So he obviously just decided not to do it. Didn't let me know about it or anything. Absolutely incredibly lame. So
unprofessional too.
And that, yeah.
We have to defeat COVID-19 at home and around the world. Make sure we're better prepared for the next pandemic or biological threat.
So here's the multitasking fallacy.
Yeah, you can't possibly do that and maintain a bare minimum security force in Afghanistan that should have been of concern to absolutely nobody. Oh, but that's imperialism.
Imperialism, bro. Dude. Like, come on, man.
Come
We need to
on,
establish
man.
international norms for cyberspace and the use of emerging technologies. We need to take concerted action to fight existential threats of climate change. And we will be more formidable to our adversaries and competitors over the long run if we fight the battles of the next 20 years, not the last 20 years. Finally, I want to recognize the incredible sacrifice and dedication that the U.S.
Yeah, it's not like the
military and
battle
personnel.
that started over the last 20 years. I mean, it'd be crazy if it wasn't finished, right? Like that'd be insane if people were just like, we're gonna give this like bare minimum effort, and we're not really gonna dedicate ourselves to this in any great degree. And all those casualties that I was just lamenting, I'm gonna sacrifice their lives in vain and totally abandon everything that they dedicated their last moments to building. That'd be crazy, right? Like that'd be pretty insane.
I mean,
Serving alongside our allies and partners have made over the last 2 decades in Afghanistan. I want to honor the significance of what they've accomplished.
by ensuring that they died in vain.
what have they accomplished thanks to you? What's been accomplished?
Dude.
Everything that's been accomplished got flushed down the drain.
Have made over the last 2 decades in Afghanistan. I want to honor the significance of what they've accomplished and the great personal risk they encountered and the incredible cost to their families. Pursuing the terrorist threat through some of the most unforgiving terrain on the planet. I've been almost throughout that entire country. Ensuring there hasn't been another attack on the homeland from Afghanistan for the last 20 years. Taking out bin Laden. I want to thank you all.
We'll see what happens over the next 20 years, Joe. Because he's all about, hey, we can't keep, we need to focus on now. Let's not, do our foreign policy, battling the problems of the last 20 years. Oh yeah, I agree. Let's see what the next 20 years bring. I'm sure they're going to be very interesting. And we're going to look back on this as a moment of fucking infamy.
Oh, absolutely.
And everybody
Absolutely.
clapped. Everybody clapped in Congress when he talked about my endless wars.
My forever wars, bro.
I hope history remembers all those people as complicit in the absolute atrocity and enablers of what's happening today, this week in Afghanistan. Because that's what they are. And they cheered it on.
They cheered
Because they were happy.
Well, I mean, they were basically, they're going to be remembered the same way as we would remember Neville Chamberlain back in the day.
Yes.
That gets to be their legacy. So hopefully they're proud of that.
The legacy of enabling Islamofascism. Oops,
Right.
Can't say that.
Oh, yeah, you said Islamofascism.
That sounds cringe, bro.
Dude, I mean, it's his giggle. Like, I call him the giggly little incel. It's that giggle of his that just makes it all the more cringy and lame. So, because he's 25 and he sounds like that. Sounds like a 10-year-old.
Hashtag stip gilly.
Like, he sounds like one of those kids that was there with Nick Fuentes today, one of those 10-year-olds in suits. Like, because they probably sound like that. They're like, yeah, wait, boy, summer with Nick. Wait, boy, summer.
Nick the knife.
The knife. Yeah, more like the nose picker. So
service and the dedication to the mission so many of you have given, and to the sacrifices that you and your families have made over the long course of this war. We'll never forget those who gave the last full measure of devotion for their country in Afghanistan, nor those whose lives have been immeasurably altered by wounds sustained in the service of their country. We're ending America's longest war, but we'll always, always honor the bravery of the American patriots who served in it. May God bless you all, and may God protect our troops. Thank you.
Mr. President,
Here we go.
Here we
go. I loved how he doesn't even get a moment. Like, it's just instant, Mr. President.
Yeah.
Which, hey, fair play to him. After listening to that, then no, there's no moment of solemn silence. No. We got some things to ask you, Mr. President, about your quote-unquote strategy.
Yeah.
Seems to be a little bit lacking.
His strategy. No, like my strategy was like based in high school.
Press X to doubt.
I was tall in high school.
Oh, now I know you're lying.
They don't know I like to kill dogs, or I guess he wants to kill dogs. That's the meme.
War. We'll never forget.
do you trust the Taliban, Mr. President?
Oh yeah, okay, come on, get it together, StreamYard. Okay, let's go. No malarkey. Let's go. Okay.
Is a Taliban takeover of Afghanistan now inevitable?
No, it is not.
Wait. He just channeled his inner Richard right there, because it's like, oh no, actually, that's pretty creepy or whatever that you were doing. And he's like, no, it is not. You know.
That's what. And there was another clip. Oh, I'm hearing a bit of an echo.
Oh.
Hopefully, we'll see what can be done. There was another clip. There's no way we're going to get to it, but basically, Jen Psaki was doing apologetics for this and was saying, well, actually, it's okay, because the question was, what is it inevitable? And Joe Biden said no. And I guess that's technically true. like that's like lawyer speak right there. Yeah, no, it's technically true that it's not inevitable. All signs from a reasonable perspective are pointing at that happening. Oh, but it's not inevitable. Anything could happen. I'm sure a guardian angel will swoop in and save the day. Maybe it'll be the Kurds. Who knows?
Well, yeah, it's their territory.
Exactly. Oh, but yeah. I guess it's not the best asked question of all time, the best formed question. Everybody listening to the question should be able to get the gist of it, though. All signs are pointing to a complete Taliban takeover. Basically, they have about as much control over the nation as the amount of troops of ours that have withdrawn. So there you go. Make what you will of that. Oh, but it's not inevitable.
Inevitable, bro.
That's just unbelievable. Again, and I love that that's the first question. Just cutting straight through all this horseshit that we just listened to.
Yes, based.
Saying, okay, so yeah, that's great. You're talking about things that happened 20 years ago. Here's something that happened yesterday.
No.
Let's talk about that. No, we can't talk about that. That's too spooky. Because as soon as you start talking about that, you might have to go back. Or the argument you made for leaving in the first place was garbage.
Yeah. So either way, what you're saying, Reece, is we're going to have to issue a clown alert.
Yes.
Uh-oh.
For this last slog, I'm going to be drinking. Fuck this shit.
Base.
Because you have the Afghan troops have 300,000 well equipped as any army in the world, and an air force against something like 75,000 Taliban. It is not inevitable.
Not how it's playing out right now.
My numbers.
Oh, they have an Air Force. Yeah, no.
We went over their Air Force recently. Their Air Force isn't an actual Air Force. It's helicopters and cargo planes.
Having an Air Force means nothing if all your cities are captured.
And that too.
Oh, don't worry. We still rule the skies. No one can get us up here.
Yeah, it's like, excuse me, Mr. President. Unfortunately, that invasion of I'm trying to Turkmenistan. Yeah, you're not actually going to be able to pull it off. And he's like, why? And it's like, they have an Air Force. Our intelligence has concluded. Can't do it.
Good to know.
They have some Su-25s from the 1960s, so you can't do it. Like, that's how it works. You can't take a country if they have an Air Force. That's why Saddam Hussein repelled the Americans.
Is that a serious question?
It's absolutely a serious question. Do you trust the Taliban?
No, I do not.
Country to the Taliban.
Oh, wait, we got to go back.
Yeah, the volume is at max right now, so you're going to have to turn it up on your end to the audience. I can't get it any louder. He just asked if he trusts the Taliban.
Taliban, Mr. President. Do you trust the Taliban, sir?
Is that a serious question?
It's absolutely a serious question. Do you trust the Taliban?
No, I do not.
Country to the Taliban.
No, I do not trust the Taliban.
So why are you handing the country over?
Is the U.S. responsible for the death?
Well, then what's the point of bringing them to the negotiating table?
So we can talk and get credit and appease the progressives.
I mean, why negotiate with people you don't trust? Like, that's clearly why the question's being asked.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, do you trust them to watch your kids? No, it's, do you trust them to uphold their end of the deal, which they failed to do so at every turn.
Yeah.
Do I trust them? So his whole angle is like, guys, don't worry. I'm totally anti-Taliban. But I'm going to gaslight you and tell you, oh, there's no way in hell that they're ever going to win. There's no way in hell they're ever going to take over. Yeah, about that. They've had power before. It's not completely outside the realm of possibility. And they've gained unprecedented amounts of control over territory in the last 2 months alone. So what's going to happen when we continue to withdraw and withdraw and withdraw, and then we have nothing? All we have is Kiwis there.
Not even Kiwis at that point.
And then the Kiwis leave, and then really shit starts to hit the fan.
That's right. That's the plan, man. That's the plan.
Watch all of his predictions, all of what Joe Biden's saying, just totally fail over the course of this year. Everything he's saying is false. Everything he's saying, the military experts are contradicting. Everything.
That's right.
Mr. President, will you amplify that question, please? Will you amplify your answer, please, why you don't trust the Taliban?
It's a silly question. Do I trust the Taliban? No. But I trust the capacity of the Afghan military, who is better trained, better equipped, and more competent in terms of conducting war. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. President. Given the amount of money that has been spent and the number of lives that have been lost, in your view, with making this decision, were the last 20 years worth it?
You know my record. I can tell by the way you asked the question. I opposed permanently having American forces in Afghanistan. I argued from the beginning, as you may recall. It came to light after the administration was over, lasted our administration. No nation has ever unified Afghanistan. No nation. Empires have gone there and not done it. The focus we had.
I hate that.
My empires, man. My empires. He
They
sounds
always
like
bring that
Michael
up.
Moore. He sounds like Michael Moore right now, as if the U.S. is like trying to actually like make it the 51st state or something.
Well, yeah, obviously following Cuba.
Oh, instead of the 52nd state. That's right.
It's a work in progress, but they always bring up this story of all the empires that have fallen to take Afghanistan. We're not trying to take Afghanistan. We're not trying to colonize Afghanistan. Like a total false equivalence
No. But Joe
between
Louis
us
said,
and the USSR
but
and all
Joe
these
Louis-
other empires.
But Joe Louis said he was, so he's just agreeing with Joe Louis.
Ah, yeah, that's who he's listening to for his foreign policy advice, I'm sure.
Well, it sounds like it. I mean, that's what he told him to do. So
That's true. It's such an irrelevant. It's something that people say to sound smart and to sound like I'm read historically. I've picked up a book or two.
I watched the Michael Moore documentary.
All of these other conflicts that went down in Afghanistan over the last however long, couple thousand years, irrelevant. Irrelevant. It doesn't matter one bit. We're not advocating to stay forever. Ironically, it's people like Joe Biden who make that a reality.
Yeah, that's the yo-yo hawkery that USS Bloodhouse talks about. You go in, then shit hits the fan, you have to go back, but then it's been too long, so you have to leave before the mission's done, and then you get attacked again, so you have to go back. It's lame, it's stupid, there's no strategy, there's no long-term vision, there's no political will to stay the course, there's no serious effort at nation building. It's lame. I don't know what else to say. So
weak and lame.
And weak.
And lame.
I remember I physically went to Afghanistan. I was up in that pass where Osama bin Laden was allegedly escaped or out of harm's way. We went for two reasons. One, to bring Osama bin Laden to the gates of hell.
Wait, did he just lich?
It seemed like it. I was gonna
I thought that was StreamYard for a second. It wasn't StreamYard. That was him doing AOL Kyle up noises. Okay.
Having a normal one.
Yeah.
As I said at the time. The second reason was to eliminate Al-Qaeda's capacity to deal with more attacks in the United States from that territory. We accomplished
that latter. Okay, so that's a 50-50. Osama bin Laden dealt with. Al-Qaeda having the capacity to use the region to launch more attacks against the U.S. Not accomplished. Not at all. Not at all. But apparently in Joe Biden's mind, it's impossible that the Taliban will ever gain full control of the nation.
Yeah,
people are projecting. People are projecting. And when I say people, I mean actual experts, people who know their shit, generals. They're predicting that within 6 months, that will be the case. The Taliban will be the ruling body in Afghanistan completely. There won't be opposition. So all this talk of all these other parties, they just need to come together. Yeah, come together to get fucking decapitated, maybe. That's what they're going to come together for. Oh, guys, welcome to the reunion. Oh, wait a minute. Who invited the Taliban? Wait a minute. No. Now they're leading me to the back. What's happening?
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. What-oh?
Uh-oh. Yeah, we might have a triple alert.
Unbelievable.
Objectives. Period. That's what I believe from the beginning. Why we should be and why we should have gone to Afghanistan. That job had been over for some time. I believe that.
Wow. He's saying this with a straight face too. He's calling other people silly. He's like, I've never been silly.
I'm never silly. That's
I've
right.
never been silly. Don't be silly. I've never been silly. Dude.
Yeah, that mission's been accomplished. Oh, it's been, you know, all these other concerns frivolous. I mean, we went in there. We got in there to get Osama bin Laden. That's it. That's the only reason. Really? Because I seem to recall. I mean, was it Osama bin Laden who attacked America, or was it Osama bin Laden and other people? No, it was just him. Man, he's a real mastermind. He pulled that off all by himself. Oh wait, no, he had associates. He had groups who were affiliated with him and were very much complicit in that happening. Ah, that's right. It's almost like one guy wasn't the only problem. So that's awesome. We can give evil a name and a face, and once that person's dead, it's over.
Over.
Then you don't have anything to worry about. I seem to recall Al Qaeda still being a thing. No, as soon as you killed Osama bin Laden, they just dissipated. They were nothing after that.
They're gone then. They're gone then, dude.
They're done, son.
They're done, son. They're done.
Any mention of Osama bin Laden in 2021 is you know it's going to be a bad take.
Oh yeah.
You just know it. Like he's not worth bringing up anymore. It's either going to be people doing what Joe Biden's doing and saying, "Well, we accomplished our mission in Afghanistan. We killed bin Laden." He's trying to sound really patriotic. You know, what he really wants to say is, "I killed bin Laden. I was in the room. Hey, don't forget about that, America. I still have your back. I killed bin Laden." Or it's going to be people like Kyle saying, "Actually, you worked with bin Laden." I have not heard a recent mention of Osama bin Laden that led to anything good.
No.
It's always some cringy shit like that.
That's right. It's when the basement cringes want to justify cringe.
Oh yeah, you worked with him. You had this paper, this post in the whatever, the New York Times, where they called him a hero. Yeah, except at the time he was a hero. At the time he was a freedom fighter. It was only later on that he went to be a problem.
Yeah, they talk about it as if, how could you work with somebody like that? That's the same as saying, like, how can you work with Stalin or something against Hitler? It's stupid. It's not a serious argument. So,
don't you know what he was going to become? No.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Even if you did know what he was going to become, what's a bigger threat? Potential guy attacks you, kills 3,000 people in 30 years, or much higher chance that you have a nuclear war with the Soviet Union, because you're not going to fight them anywhere if you're not going to fight them in Afghanistan. Like, that's the other thing. Like, does anybody think the U.S. would have had the will to fight them anywhere else in the world if they couldn't do that? So obviously the Cold War would have gone on for a lot longer. And then instead of 3,000 Americans dying, maybe you don't have a country anymore. Maybe 150 million or 200 million die. So this idea that they didn't know that something bad might have come from arming the Mujahideen. No, the point was, you're not going to get nuked from that. Whatever blowback eventually happens is going to be less of a problem than an increased chance of a nuclear war by letting the Soviet Union continue and occupy a bunch of the world and take over more territory. So,
yeah, and I mean, we were aware of bin Laden.
Loud. They're loud.
Oh.
He's quiet. They're loud.
No, you're not wrong. I was just gonna say.
Yeah.
I was going to say real quick that in terms of like there were also opportunities during the 90s to act more preemptively against Al Qaeda. Obviously, we'd had dealings with them, but we weren't formally engaged in any kind of war on terror. We knew what was going on. Obviously, they'd done other attacks before 9/11 was a big success for them. But no, we'd had plenty of surveillance of bin Laden himself at the training camps.
Mm-hmm.
And they could have been more forward thinking about that. There would have been some attack though, because that's the problem. People always want to go like, "Oh, I'm just going to take out the leader and then everything will be okay." Well, yeah, that's a good strategy for a while, but then they get a new leader.
Yep. It's like whack-a-mole, basically. Except he doesn't even want to play that anymore. Lame.
Lame.
Mr. President, what's your comment? Mr. President, thank you. Mr. President.
Mr. President, thank you very much. Your own intelligence community has assessed that the Afghan government will likely collapse.
That is not true.
Is it?
Cope. He's lying.
Incorrect.
He's lying.
Incorrect.
Can you please clarify what they have told you about whether that will happen or not?
That is not true. They did not reach that conclusion.
So what is the level of confidence that they have that it will not collapse?
The Afghan government and leadership has to come together.
Oh, come on, dude.
He keeps going back to that. Yep, come together so that they can be taken out in one fell stroke. Isn't that right?
It's so lame. All he has is these meaningless platitudes.
Come together right now.
Dude.
They clearly have the capacity to sustain the government in place. The question is, will they generate the kind of cohesion to do it? It's not a question of whether they have the capacity. They have the capacity. They have the forces. They have the...
Press X to out.
The question is, will they do it? And I want to make clear what I made clear to Ghani, that we are not going to walk away and not sustain their ability to maintain that force. We are. We're going to also work to make sure we help them in terms of everything from food necessities and other things in the region. But there is not a conclusion that, in fact, they cannot defeat the Taliban. I believe the only way there's going to be, this is now Joe Biden, not the intelligence community, the only way there's ultimately going to be peace and security in Afghanistan is that they work out a modus vivendi with the Taliban.
But he just said he doesn't trust them. Come on, Joe. Come on,
and he mocked the guy who asked that question. I don't trust the Taliban. How can you say that?
Oh my God, dude. Okay, we can go about 5 more minutes here. Unbelievable.
Yep, it was 6 months, by the way. That's the analysis from the U.S. intelligence community.
Yeah, it's going to be faster than that, though. So
that came out weeks ago. So there's no way he doesn't know about that. He's totally lying.
Or he just doesn't read his intelligence briefings like Donald Trump. But that would be another area where he's got a lot of commonality with Trump. So
that would be such a fail.
I know.
Peace. And the likelihood there's going to be one unified government in Afghanistan controlling the whole country is highly unlikely.
Mr. President, thank you. But we have talked to your own top general in Afghanistan, General Scott Miller. He told ABC News the conditions are so concerning at this point that it could result in a civil war. So if Kabul falls to the Taliban, what will the United States do about it?
Look.
These are actually, like, people say lamestream media and everything. For once, the mainstream media has good questions, not just, oh, we're bad, forever wars, let's get out and everything. They're actually holding them to account here. Okay.
Yeah, it's almost like we don't even have to do anything.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, it's worth speaking about because it gives, it will let people know. No, it's not just people in the media who are asking these questions, because there's always that narrative, oh, they're bought and paid for, they're the pro-corporate, pro-war media. We're not part of the media. We're not part of any kind of corporation. We're just two guys on a podcast saying that these people are right. They're asking the real questions that Joe Biden's speech of platitudes failed to address in any kind of way.
That's right. No, and it's the sort of thing that when it comes to Joe Biden in particular, like I said, and like you pointed out, he tries to say it as, oh, that's silly for you to ask if I trust the Taliban. Of course I don't trust the Taliban. And then he's like, oh, well, they'll have to make an agreement with the Taliban, bro.
But I don't trust him.
Like, dude, he doesn't trust them. So why would you even make an agreement then?
I just like making deals with people I don't trust.
It's so lame. It's so childish. Like, this is some of the most silly behavior from Joe Biden I've ever seen.
But he doesn't do silly.
Hey, he doesn't do silly. He's not silly. He doesn't do silly. That's silly to say that.
Things. One, that if it could result in a civil war, that's different than the Taliban succeeding, number one. Number two.
What if they win the civil war?
Then they succeed.
How about who cares about that? First off, like that's such a red herring. How about just them conducting a civil war in the first place, emboldened by the lack of a U.S. presence, makes the country, even more unlivable than it is today. And that's apparently an okay situation. Like, oh, don't worry, they can handle it. These are our allies who we stood by and who we supposedly respect. Oh, you're embroiled in a civil war. Oh, and there's a chance that you might not win. Come back to us when there's a real problem, basically. come back to us when it's a clear threat to us, basically. This is what he's saying.
Dude.
There's an emergency, come back when it's a catastrophe.
Yeah, it's got to be like super serious, man.
Super serial.
Entire region as well.
Super serial.
There's a number of countries that have a grave concern about what's going to happen in Afghanistan.
Concern.
Their security.
My concern.
Concerned, bro. Concerned.
A civil war, it's different than the Taliban winning. Well, not if they win the civil war. The civil war on its own would be bad.
But it's different because there was a civil war.
The question is, how much of a threat to the United States of America and to our allies is whatever results in terms of...
Yeah, I like how the Taliban government isn't a U.S. ally, or the Afghan government isn't a U.S. ally.
No, they don't get included anymore. Apparently,
they don't get included. No. They're just like, we don't like you, man.
They're like, you know what? We'll throw them under the bus because we have this whole platitude about, well, if it's a threat to us or our allies, somebody's like an aide's leaning over him, sir. These have been our allies for the last 20 years. Oh shit. Yeah, so sorry guys, we're gonna have to take you off the VIP list. And Ghani's like, come on, man. What? I thought we were cool.
And he just says to him, he's like, I thought we were promised no malarkey. And Joe Biden, like, come on, man. And Joe Biden, like,
if that means not getting into another endless war, we'll throw them under the bus. That's a small price to pay in the mind of Joe Biden.
It's been too long, man. It's too long, man. That's what he tells Guy. He's like, so you lied. He's like, well, I mean, we all got to break a campaign promise here and there, right? So.
Oh.
So lame. Like, I mean, on this, he's basically Bernie Sanders. What's the difference between this and Bernie?
Not too much, to be honest with you.
Not too much.
I imagine Bernie, would have done everything in his power to end the alliance with Saudi Arabia.
Oh yeah.
More than Joe Biden's doing. So that's where they differ. On this issue, not so much.
Not so much.
An agreement. That's when that judgment will be made.
Mr. President, some Vietnamese veterans see echoes of their experience in this withdrawal in Afghanistan. Do you see any parallels between this withdrawal and what happened in Vietnam, with some people feeling?
None whatsoever. Zero. What you had is entire brigades breaking through the gates of our embassy. 6, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, but that could happen. Just because it hasn't happened yet. Come on.
Yeah, that hasn't happened yet, so there's no parallels. Yeah, it's almost like that didn't just happen right away. It's almost like in Vietnam there was a lead up to that.
Dude.
Amazingly enough.
Dude.
Yeah, you know what the difference there is? The difference is that already, this is the only difference, by the way, that was already a civil war. And here there's talks of tensions building for a potential civil war.
Yeah.
Now, civil war would be preferable to just a straight up takeover from the Taliban, because then there would actually be a fighting chance for all the people who were liberated. But their chances of winning are, without the U.S., without their Air Force, not looking so good. And even so, the price for winning will be astronomical.
Oh yes. Absolutely.
And they come out of that. Are they going to be some steadfast ally of ours? No, they would have every reason in the world to resent us.
Yeah, that's
every reason in the world to say, America, fuck you. You abandoned us in our time of need, and we wash our hands of you. We're not going to be the next Israel. We're not going to be some reliable set of eyes and ears in Central Asia. No, nothing of that sort. Not going to happen.
The Taliban is not the North Vietnamese army. They're not remotely comparable in terms of capability. There's going to be no circumstance where you see people being lifted off the roof of a embassy of the United States from Afghanistan. It is not at all comparable.
Well, we'll have to come back to this clip in a couple years.
That's not always how analogies work. They don't always have to be like a one for one. We're more talking about the dynamics here. Obviously, all of this is on a smaller scale. Obviously, this isn't exactly the same as Vietnam, but it's worth noting some parallels. It really is. Okay, you know what? If that's a little too big brain for people, that scares people a little bit too much, we don't have to go back to Vietnam. Let's go back to Iraq. You were part of the last administration that orchestrated the withdrawal there. That other debacle. There we go. There's a comparison to draw. Oh, is it comparable to Iraq? I mean, it didn't matter what people said. They could have listed any other country from which we've withdrawn. He would have just instantly answered, not comparable at all. No comparison to be made at all.
Well, you know why? Because Iraq is a different country from Afghanistan. So therefore the analogy does not work. They are two different countries. They speak Vietnamese in Vietnam. They do not speak Vietnamese in Afghanistan.
When you put things that way, it all starts to make sense.
Anyway, we actually have to wrap this up now. This was the first episode where there was so much cringe in one video, and there was so much of that video that we could only get through one video. Sort of. So
that's pretty bad, man. But hey, it was worth covering. We'll probably do something later in the week. Obviously, we prepared more for this episode, but and I don't want those clips to go to waste because they are gold as far as I'm concerned. So
yeah,
well, probably not tomorrow. Kevin's got a debate, but if his debate falls through, maybe, or later on in the week. But as always, thank you to everyone who came on to watch. Thank you to Henry from American Madhouse for being our guest earlier. And we'll definitely have him on in the future, and hopefully when he can actually stick around a little bit longer. This was all orchestrated kind of at the last minute, midway through the week. But yeah, if anyone has any recommendations, leave them in the comment section. You can contact Kevin or myself on Twitter. With your video clips, I often get sent a few for consideration each week. And we do appreciate the support. And I hope everyone's having a good white boy summer.
Yeah, because Nick Fuentes isn't. They've taken his money. He can't fly. He's getting kicked out of CPAC. And his YouTube and Twitter have gotten new. So that's fun. Hashtag white boy summer. Anyway, if you want to support what I do, check me out over on Ko-Fi, PayPal, and Patreon. If you haven't subscribed yet, be sure to subscribe. Do daily videos and daily live streams. So we do this show every week. And you can also subscribe to Spooky Nukies over on YouTube at Spooky Nukies. So thank you for watching. Stay based and keep on rocking in the free world. Ghouls out.
Au revoir.